Good afternoon. Well, this will go out second week of September or somewhere thereabouts. And it's about Gaza and the Middle East peace process. A couple of issues here. We've had a difficult time, and because of hacking at the foundation I work for. This is related to our work in regard to Gaza. So a hate group, presumably a group of individuals rather than an intelligence agency, has been hacking our stuff, taking down our website and so on. We've had to put in difficult in the sense of time-consuming. Our website was down for a month. Time-consuming security measures, also in some instances expensive, although a kind friend has done a lot of the work. But anyway, so this is because of hate groups, and people everywhere are having this problem. I don't want to waste time on it, but I feel you should be aware of it. It's a challenge for us all, and we have to deal with it, don't we? Anyway, meanwhile, I wanted to talk to you about Gaza and the situation. You're aware of the situation, the ongoing misery of Gaza. And just to reiterate, one of the guys on the team that worked with me, called Joer, he prepared some notes for me. So in May, Israel began an operation called Gideon's Chariots, May of this year. It aimed to destroy Hamas's military and governing infrastructure and rescue the hostages that were held, the Israelis who held hostage, and gain control of 75% of the Gaza Strip. It involved displacing much of the Gazan population and accompanied by establishing Israel-controlled aid mechanisms under the auspices of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. By July of this year, although Israel claimed to be holding approximately 65% of Gaza and achieving in some degree its territorial goal, it had failed in its other objectives. In August of this year, so recently, Operation Gideon's Chariots. Gideon's Chariots? What a name. Gideon. Known for his faith, I guess. Operation Gideon's Chariots pushed forward to seize Gaza City and assert military control over the entire Gaza Strip and to defeat Hamas, while insisting that Israel does not intend to run Gaza's civil affairs in the long term. Yes, Israel, the great destroyer, didn't want to actually do any work. And very soon after that program, Operation Gideon's Chariots got underway, famine broke out. It was already on its way in Gaza City. Famine. And that plan, Operation Gideon's Chariots, envisions moving 1 million Gaza City residents, 1 million Gaza City residents south, below the Netzarim corridor, around the Mawasi area, before a larger assault. Oh, come on. The offensive mobilized 130,000 troops. That's a substantial increase in terms of Israel's soldiers compared to earlier phases of this war, if you can call it a war. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, the US-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation developed a post-war Gaza plan under which governance was to be overseen by a US-backed group, such as the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Well, obviously. Their plan involves a total ethnic cleansing of Gaza, displacing Gaza's population of about 2 million overseas. Why do you call it Humanitarian Foundation? Gaza Brutality Foundation, I don't know. Anyone who owns land would be offered a digital token in exchange for rights to redevelop their property. Well, thank you. And each Palestinian who left would be provided with $5,000 in cash and with other subsidies. What subsidies? I have no idea. Okay, well, look. Our group, Next Century Foundation, came under a lot of flack from our Arab members for suggesting an alternative. But I just want to make it clear that it is possible to have alternative solutions that are ruthless but not cruel. You know? I mean, Israel's losing its soul here by behaving this way. In my view, you may feel differently. So here's 5 key recommendations for Gaza. 1, we recommend disarming Hamas's armed wing with a final offer to fighters to relocate to Qatar, state of Qatar, and a professional military force, like the British, the Russians? Sure, the Russians. Or the Americans, well, the Americans won't have the chutzpah for it, will they? But nonetheless would lead the operation. Britain has a historical responsibility, by the way, so Britain should man up. You could deploy 2 coordinated units from the north and the south working towards the Gaza River and disarming as they went, you know? So they move forward a city block, people would be searched, the area would be searched. Now you say, okay, no new weapons would come in. Well, they might, but that would have to be dealt with by working through Gaza all over again and again and again until the Gazans got the idea they're going to be disarmed. I mean, you might think this is pro-Israel saying this. Well, it's pro an end to this war, and the final release of Israel's hostages should be negotiated, starting with the release of the remaining hostages and the withdrawal of Israel's forces from Gaza as the quid pro quo. Meantime, there should be UN-monitored humanitarian corridors for delivering aid, medical supplies, and the evacuation of the wounded. I'm a bit conflicted about the evacuation of the wounded. I prefer hospitals to go in. The reason I'm conflicted is because once they're out, they'll never go back, will they? Well, you know, I mean, Britain's taken 100 severely wounded Gazans and their families, their immediate families, to the UK for treatment. Are they ever going to go back? No, of course not. But I'm sounding ruthless now, but I just think we have to be careful. There's so many severely wounded. It's another way of ethnically cleansing Gaza by not treating them, getting hospitals up and running in Gaza. So then we have a joint Arab peacekeeping force composed of Saudi Arabia, Egypt and Morocco, for example, to be established and deployed to Gaza. I mean, others have offered, United Arab Emirates and so on. This force would maintain stability, oversee reconstruction, and manage administrative functions until the basic phases of the reconstruction are complete. I mean, Saudi Arabia would be like to be involved. It's driven by its ambition to normalize relations with Israel in order to diversify its economy, strengthen its relationship with the United States, and so forth. Egypt would perhaps like to be engaged because of the risk of mass displacement from Gaza to Egypt, which would destabilize President Sisi. Morocco, well, a country like Morocco would bring peacekeeping experience. I mean, they've had to brutally peacekeep and crush the Spanish Sahara, and counterinsurgency expertise. I mean, they're good at that, aren't they, the Moroccans, to the proposed force. So it's something of that kind. Alternatives, there are so many alternatives. You could have a multinational peacekeeping force, an alliance consisting of Canada, the European Union, with particular involvement from France, maybe. I mean, France isn't too much of a bête noire now to the Israelis since they're recognizing a Palestinian state. Thank God they are. And a country like the Republic of Turkey could oversee this initiative. Or you could even have a protectorate, like the old UN protectorate. You could even go back to a British protectorate. Protectorate's not a bad idea. But the governance of the Gaza Strip, once reconstruction is well underway, and I'm just saying this because there are so many alternatives to deal with this bloody mess. Governance. You could have a Palestinian technocrat committee. That's what people like Mohammed Dahlan recommend. Selected by respected Palestinian civil society figures, could be in it. Academics, lawyers, religious leaders, even delegates from the Arab peacekeeping force could be in it. How would they be selected? Work that out, can't we? There are a number of methods, but the committee would assume administrative and political responsibilities. Well, the Arab peacekeeping force remain. Now, another key element in all of this is that infrastructure projects need to be funded by the USA. That means, they will be paid for out of Palestinian taxes. There are huge wads of Palestinian taxes. All goods, they're withheld from the Palestinians, but there are taxes raised on goods going into and out of the West Bank and Gaza and so on by Israel. There are other ways, but they would be paid for perhaps by Arab states, like the state of Qatar or whatever. But infrastructure projects would be funded by the USA, done by the USA. Now, why? So I'm suggesting that critical infrastructure in Gaza, like desalination plants and power plants, need to be funded. Why? Because it stops Israel bombing the hell out of them. I mean, look at me, I got white hair. When I was in my 20s, the Kuwait Fund for Arab Economic Development, and that's a long time ago, built 2 power stations in Gaza. Israel just bombed them. We can't have that again. At least if they're built, maintained, paid for, investment for, because that's all Donald Trump cares about is investment for the USA, then it's less likely to be targeted or destroyed in future conflicts, and we need that. And then this disarmament of Hamas and hostage release has to be accompanied by renewed peace negotiations into achieving a viable agreement between Israel and Palestine. I would like to see Marwan Barghouti released. He's now falling apart because he's old, like me, but he's had a tough time in prison. But I would like Palestine to be given a new leader. Abu Mazen, of course, has lost it. So this is the thing. All of this, I'm telling you, I'm just sharing thoughts because there are so many ways of dealing with the Gaza mess without committing war crimes, being brutal, being cruel, and I'm sad to see this happening, as you are. It's easily dealt with. Okay, easy. Doable. You can deal with it. I mean, Russian troops all over Africa. They're some of the most feared in the world. Russian mercenaries. There are many people who would come in. Russians. Americans don't want Russians. I can appreciate that. But there are many people that could come in, take this off Israel's back, and we could have a new Gaza. Remember, Gaza has all that natural gas offshore. Theoretically, one of the richest little strips of land, Singapore of the Middle East. Oh, Lord. Never going to happen, is it? But current way is wrong. That's simple. We both know it. You, whoever's listening, and me. We know it's wrong. God have mercy on the souls of the Israelis who will have to answer for this to their God. No, I mean that. God have mercy. Okay, bless you all. Thank you for listening.